she's funny, she's smart, she craves chocolate every day, and she is the Greek goddess of comedy. Here is your host, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Karis's Comedy Corner. My name is Ellen Karis, and you're listening to the guest edition of Karis's Comedy Corner. I have a fabulous, fabulous guest today. Very, very excited. Before we start, we got always thank the sponsors. First sponsor is Baywalk Marketing. Go to their website, baywalk.net, for all of your advertising and marketing needs. They can help you with a flyer that you want to advertise your business with, the demographics, analyze sales, whatever. They're marketing gurus, these people, and they are also experts in the Greek community. Go to their website, HellenicFestivals.org, to find out where there is a Greek festival near you. They are happening. September is a very big festival month here in the US, so make sure you go out and eat a lot of Greek food and buy a couple of matis, because I think we all need them. Also, our other sponsor is SelectFlex. What is it? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? It's also called an insert. You put it in your shoe. Why? Because your entire body needs it for your knees, your back, your shins. Everything starts from the feet and works its way up. I have them in all of my sneakers. It's going to get cold outside. UGG season is coming. Some of those shoes have absolutely no support. They are absolutely fantastic. And here is the genius. There's a geometric beam in the arch. You can adjust the beam to firm, extra firm, or extra, extra firm, depending on what your needs are. Go to their website, check out their 30-second video, selectflex.com, SelectFlex.com. And for Karis Comedy Corner listeners, there is a 25% discount if you type in the code FAMILY, FAMILY 25, because you, my listeners, I love like my family, except we don't fight as much. So we thank them for their support. We get it, support, orthotic? No? Okay. Well, I wrote the copy myself. All right. So we have a very, very, very smart guest with us today. We are meeting for the first time. He is an author of what I see, 3 books, a new one coming out called Walking in the Light. He is from Greece originally. I know I always say I'm Greek. I am Greek, but I was born here, but he was born there. We're going to find out his story. But what's incredible was his traveling all over the world, and that he graduated from the Maritime Academy, which completely impresses me. So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Theodore. We're going to call him Ted Pitsios. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
Our pleasure. I have so many questions, but let's start with, what part of Greece are you from?
I'm from a picturesque, quaint little village called Tsagarada. It's on Mount Pelion, which is 50 kilometers east of the city of Volos.
So where is that in terms of how far is it from Athens? So for our non-Greek friends.
It is 4.5 hours, depending how wide you take the curves. 4.5 hours north of Athens.
North of Athens. Okay. Got it.
For the movie aficionados, the half of the movie Mamma Mia, of the first version of Mamma Mia, was filmed in my village, a few yards down the road from my house.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's huge. That's really, really big. So you live in Davuna, so right, the mount. You live in
the mountains, but it's a seaside. It's just my house is just a few hundred yards away from the sea, from the Aegean Sea.
So were you educated in Greece entirely, or did you come to the United States for studying?
I studied in the United States afterwards, but the original education was in Greece. I went to high school there and to the Maritime Academy there. And I only went to the university here after I got married and stayed here.
Mm-hmm. And so what made you go to the Maritime University? What were your career plans then?
I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world, and joining the Merchant Marines, that was one affordable way for people like me could do it. So I did that. I sailed for a number of years, and then by some twist of fate, I met the lady that ended up becoming my wife, and I settled in the United States. That was not part of the original plan. That's how fate worked.
So your wife is from the States?
My wife was from the States. She was from West Palm Beach, Florida. As a matter of fact, the way we met, it was while I was vacationing in your neck of the woods. When I was sailing as a merchant marine, I was uh, signing on a ship, staying as long as my bank account reached the healthy status, and then I would sign off and play tourist. And at one time, I was playing tourist in New York in the middle of January, and I went to see a Greek movie. There was I don't know if I don't think the place still exists. It was somewhere on 48th Street and Broadway. There was a place, a theater that was showing Greek movies. So I went to see the movie, and the guy at the ticket said, the movie is almost over now, and it's a detective story. You don't know what's to the end. Come back in about an hour. So I went across the street where the Union Hall was for a cup of coffee. And while I was there, a call came in through. They were looking for an engineer on a ship that was on the beach down in South Florida. It was Palm Beach. That was a few months after Hurricane Betsy. And so they were asking for an engineer there. The snow was about knee deep in New York. The temperature was a couple of 100 degrees below zero. So I think I was at the LaGuardia airport before the guy hung up. So when I got to the ship, while I'm working on the ship, I met my wife, and all my notions of traveling some more, seeing the rest of the world, and settling somewhere in the south of France or so forth went downhill. So
Wait.
we
So
married.
hang on a second. So you went to the movies. The movie person that was going to sell you the ticket said, "Don't bother because it's almost over." You go across the street to where the merchant marine
Yes.
gathered. You get a call to go on a ship in Florida, and then that's how you met your. That is amazing. If that isn't meant to be, like, I don't know what is. That is
Yes.
like no other.
Kismet.
Oh my gosh. And the fact that it was cold and then they sent you to Florida. Wow, that's amazing. So, well, you're not in the south of France, but you're in the south of Florida. So I know it's not, I know it's not exactly the same, but and I know there's not in terms of culture, but
we were married for 51 years until she passed away a few years ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. And then you have children?
Yes. Let's do it the Greek way. When you ask somebody if he has έχεις παιδιά, well, I have 3 daughters. I think the good Lord misunderstood me when I said I liked girls. I should have been more specific. But he gave it to me as daughters, yes. There was a period in my life when everything in my household was female. The cat, the dog, the canary, everything.
So you have a lot in common with my father because I'm one of 3 girls, and the dogs were all girls. And I don't know what I'll ask you in a second, but my dad had 6 brothers and no sisters. So talk about like a complete, complete turnaround.
Yes.
Did you have sisters when you were growing up?
I have one sister, our youngest sister. I was the oldest of three children. I have a brother who's 5 years younger, and my sister who's 7 years.
So, and then your daughters, are they close to you? So where, and I want to get then to your writing, but like, so where are you now? So do you travel all over? I went to by the way, your website has all of these beautiful photos. I'm very envious because we don't travel in our house. We have like we don't have any fun. We just work. So I'm dying to go someplace, any place. But do you live in several places? That was sort of like the impression that I
Well,
got.
I have a house. My address is Mobile, Alabama, but I have a house in a small town east of Mobile called Orange Beach. And since my wife passed away, I've been living permanently in Orange Beach. I do travel when time permits. I travel. I still maintain a house in Greece, and I go over there once a year. And my two of my daughters are in the area, and my number three daughter has to aggravation of my wife, has migrated all the way to the foreign land of California. She lives in Pasadena.
Mhm.
Yes. So when I have time, I travel domestically and foreign.
So that's your main residence now, Alabama. So you're not in Florida
Yes.
anymore, and then you just go to Greece
No.
sometimes. Mhm.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. So let's get to your career. So after you got married and you had children, what did you do for work?
I worked for others, for other companies, and something happened in that period that it convinced me that I would be better off if I start my own business. Uh, when I first got married, we lived in the Bahamas for a couple of years, and I was in Nassau. I was working for a construction company in the Bahamas. And then we moved over to the United States, and I thought with my expertise and all of that, I would have no problem finding a job. The first company I went to apply, it was a company manufacturing turbines, which I had experience in the marine turbines. And they liked me, and they thought I would be useful, but they noticed that I was not American citizen, and their contracts were, all their contracts were the government, U.S. government. So they were sorry, but they could not hire. So the second place I went to apply for a job was the Florida Power and Light. They had many steam generators and all that. And again, they liked my background, they liked my expertise, but a very meticulous personnel guy looking at my application noticed that I was not a high school graduate. I tried to explain to the gentleman that at the time when I was going to high school, it happened to be a shortage of maritime officers. And the government decreed that anyone with a minimum of 3 years of high school, if they can pass the entrance exams to the Maritime Academy, they can join. And I did take the entrance exam and I passed it. And I was the youngest one in my class. And I could explain to the guy, and he said, well, that might be right, but it's going to be with you all anytime, anywhere you go for a job. So why don't you go across the street and take the GED test and get it over? So then he explained what GED was and all of that. And I got the literature for it. And with the help of my wife, I took the test and I passed it. But by then, that position had been filled, and the job, and somebody found a restaurant for sale. So I guess it runs in the Greek blood. I ended up owning it. we were a young couple at the time. My wife was just turned 21. And until then, all the experience we had in the restaurants, it was as customers from the other end of the counter. So, but we jumped in with all the enthusiasm and naivete of the youth. And I kept that thing for a year. And then I finally got the job at the shipyard doing ship repair, which was something familiar. But then the fellow went bankrupt, and I got a job at the shipyard over here in the heart of Dixie, in Mississippi. And since I had gotten the high school diploma, so to speak, I decided to go back to school to improve my vocabulary. And so I started going to the junior college and then transferred to the University of South Alabama, majoring in mechanical engineering. I worked in the shipyard for a number of years, and then I started working for a marine consulting company. And I was quite content. The company I was working for, it was all nice people who were all very happy. But then something happened, and it kind of convinced me that no matter how well I worked, my future, my advancement would be dependent on the opinion of others and how they perceive my performance. So I decided to start my own company, and I did. And first, we were specializing in strictly doing repair work on ships. But the ships, they have the bad habit not breaking down in nice pre-scheduled intervals. And you end up with either having too much work and you cannot find any people to do it, or you have too many people sitting around and not enough to do the work. Also, the breakdown, and just when you are getting ready to go take the family to Disney World or to go on vacation. So I try to diversify something that would give me a steady workload. And I started doing steel fabrication for shoreside industries, primarily paper mills, which is a big industry down here. And then general construction. And now the company is still in operation. We have about 30 people working. And now we are doing mostly work for the US government. Currently, we have a contract to build, we are building all the buoys that the US Coast Guard uses, all the aids to navigation. So the next time you take your yacht out, sink one of them, I'll buy you a beer.
Did I mention we have no fun here? We don't do anything. Okay, I have so many questions, but I have to add, let me ask the first one that is popping out of my head. Here it is, I'm assuming the 1960s-ish, and you are Greek.
Yes.
In Alabama.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh, that was fun. Yes, it was. When we moved here, it was a few years after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and everyone who heard me speaking with an accent, immediately the first question was, "Are you Cuban?" Yes. And also, migrating from South Florida to Alabama, it was quite a cultural shock. South Florida, the area around Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, is southern geographically, but might as well be a suburb of New York or Chicago. People are talking with two telephones at the time, they're always in a hurry and all that. When we moved over here, it was a stifling feeling. It was like if you ever seen Mine Pack Kettle movies, one of them days, Mo, we uh, you call for people to get the utilities connected to this. One of them days, we'll send somebody over yonder.
God.
So it was quite interesting.
See, I mean, did people know what Greek was?
Well, let me give you a little example kind of Greek was and how people felt over here about strangers. When I was working at the shipyard, at one time I was a foreman on an area, and at one point my supervisor happened to come by, and he was checking how is the work going, and I explained to him what we are doing, and he noticed my accent. He said, "You're not from around here." I said, "No, where are you from?" "I'm from Greece." "Oh," he said, and that was a few months after Onassis married Jacqueline Kennedy.
Oh, thank
And,
goodness.
and he said, "Well, now that rich guy of yours, that what? And he married that white woman, the Kennedy girl." So, uh, yes, that's another thing. The Southerners, they have a perception of uh, the white are one of us. All the ones that are none of us, one of us, they are non-white. So
Yeah, I have to tell you, to this day, I'm not sure exactly of the whole color scheme. You've got Latin people saying that they're not white, but they're lighter than I am. So like I don't get the color scheme, but anyway, that's another conversation. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how it was for you. I give you a lot of credit, and your wife is, you could say your wife is Greek, right?
no,
Your
my
wife
wife
was.
is Irish, Scottish, French, American, whatever Americans are made
Oh,
of.
so you had a good representative with you. Okay, so then she was able to like deflect and just.
Another thing, yes, when we moved to the heart of Big Three, he got a job at the employment agency, at personnel. It was a family-owned, all money, all South agency. And the first day, they told her that when she answers the phone, she should use her maiden name as a last name.
Wow.
Yeah, her last name is Bullard, which is uh, Bullard is descendants of a group of loyalists who, after the American Revolution, they were unhappy with the situation. They migrated to other places. And my wife, some of my wife's ancestors uh, came from the Bahamas. If you ever read a book by a fellow named Wilder, The Wind of Carolinas, it kind of gives you an idea. But anyway, yes, her employer said, to use her maiden name.
Well, just to like sort of an offshoot of that, I know back, back in the day here, I remember my mom telling me stories of she wanted to work in the phone company and she couldn't because she wasn't Irish. They generally had, and there was a lot of that, but so
My wife worked for the phone
I'm
company.
still reeling from even to this day. I mean, I know that there's a Greek community there. I know there's a Greek church. I do stand-up comedy. So like I have, I've like scouted where all the Greek churches are and stuff. I've never been down that way to do a show. I'd love to. I think it would be a lot of fun. But
when the rigors of winter get too severe, you're welcome to come on down south.
yeah.
You will be. We have plenty of room here.
So you've got all these businesses, you've worked hard, your wife worked hard, you raised 3 girls. And then where did the writing come in? I mean, I have to assume that just speaking to you right now, you clearly are a storyteller, but did you keep journals? Did you write articles? A lot of Greek men, they read the newspaper, they write in. I mean, what was your story on how you've
No,
published
I
three
wish
books?
actually.
Mhm.
No, actually, I wish I had kept a calendar. It would come in handy now that I'm attempting to write my memoirs. But I was, yes, I was always good at writing. In high school, we have the course of Greek language. It was divided in two, in grammar and then the literature. The grammar is the part that we're supposed to know all the verbs and punctuation and I was lousy at that. But I was very good in writing essays, and fortunately, the grades for that were combined, and I always managed to pass the course. So I liked it. I did not plan to write anything, but during my oldest daughter's wedding, I met her future husband's friends and neighbors, and one of them was a professor at the University of South Alabama, a literature professor, and he was holding an adult creative writing class, and I thought I'll take it to improve my vocabulary. And they liked the assignments that he would give us assignments to write short stories and all that. And they seemed to like them and find them entertaining and all that. And then I decided to maybe I'll write a book about the Greeks in Mobile. At his urge, it was right after Angela's Ashes came out and all that, and he suggested I should write something about the Greeks. So I wrote my first book, The Bellmaker's House, and after that I found it it's relaxing, and with a sharp pencil and a good eraser, you can create empires. You can have your heroes do things. You can have your hero tell his boss to take his job and shove it and go down the block and find an uncut page twice. In real life, you don't do that. Before you tell your boss to shove it, you think of the car you're behind 1 month and the kid that needs braces and all that. My guy goes in the bar and winks at the blonde at the other end of the bar as she tells him, your place or mine. In
So
real life,
what year did you write? Well, okay, hang on a second. So you take a writing course and then you decide that you had a story in you, The Bellmaker's House. And I have to apologize. I didn't get a chance to read any of your books, but I will, just that we had scheduled this very quickly. And then when I do, I'll do a little promo for it. But so where did you come up with this? How long did it take you? What is your process? I mean, do you get up in the morning, have coffee, breakfast, and then start writing? Because it's a discipline. And I'm a writer for stand-up comedy, which is a little bit of a different discipline, but I've been trying to write a book for years. And it's just like, I start, I stop, I start, I stop, I start a new one. It's like crazy. So I admire anybody that can get it to publication. Is incredible. So when did The Bellmaker's House come out? What year was that?
Oh, I wish nowadays I have to look up my name to
10 years ago? Was it 10 years ago? 20?
Yeah, it's about 10 years ago.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
So what was the inspiration to do that, and how long did it take you?
I usually write about things I know. So it actually, as it turned out, it was I regretted it, writing it the way I did it. But like I said, I write about things I know. And as a matter of fact, on that first book, I had difficulty in the beginning when I was writing my stories with points of view. I kept shifting from omniscient to first person to third person, and so. And the instructor suggested, why don't you pretend you have a camera in your head and you record everything you see and you write it the first. So I did that. And the hero on the first book is an immigrant who jumped ship to stay in this country. And he ended up marrying somebody primarily for the green card. And when my wife read it, she thought that was autobiographical, and I had to sleep on the couch for a couple of nights. And I sincerely regretted it because despite my assurances and all that, I think deep inside her, she probably there was an amber of thought that might be the primary motive, which it was not. But anyway, so that's that for the first. The second book is also about the Greek ex-merchant seaman. He's a fellow who is kind of finds it necessary to leave town in a hurry, and he gets on the merchant ship and travels, and he meets some people who were in the States before, and he decides to jump ship. And the third one is what happened to that guy after he jumped ship.
So the second one and the third one are connected.
In some way, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. So how long did it take you to write the second book, which is searching for Ithaca,
For Ithaca, yes.
which is an island that I wanted to go to? How long did that take you?
It usually takes me about 2 years, or 3 years to write. Searching for Ithaca, the title from Ithaca is from Cavafis's poem, Ithaca. I don't know if you're familiar with the poem, but so that's where the title comes.
And then so now your latest one is Walking in the Light.
Yes,
It's
yes,
still
from the Gospel of John.
the Gospel of John. Oh gosh. And you must be an incredible reader, and you must read very, very quickly. You are very knowledgeable. So this is a bit of an offshoot of the second book. And then how long did that take you to write?
About 2-3 years.
2-3 years. So
yeah.
So what is your process? So so do you just, is it every day? Is it a discipline? Is it, from 9 to 1 or 9 to 5? Or like, how do you do this?
No, usually the most productive time is early in the morning. The maximum is about 4 hours. So after that, my brain gets overheated. And I like I write about things I know. So I wish now I'm in the process of writing memoirs, and now I wish I had kept that. Now I get all my information now from the appointment books that I kept on my desk when I had the business.
I still keep a written appointment book, and I have all of them. I don't necessarily I have like sporadic diaries, but I have appointment books going way back. So those are actually good though, because you flip through them and then something jogs your memory. So, even though you didn't write the whole story or whatever your thought was, but then you see something and then you think about it, and then,
yes.
and then it will be retrieved. So is this your books, are they anything that you would like to possibly turn into a play or a movie? Do you want to bring these characters to life on stage and or film?
Well, interesting thing you mentioned that I'm among all my other hobbies, is I'm involved in the theater, and over here in Gulf Shores, Alabama, community theater, and I'm quite active in it. And I gave a reading on my third book at a local cafe here, and all the people, most of the people I had invited were people from the theater. And since because of it, I wrote a skit. It was about a 10-minute skit that, and I had the different guys, the different people from the theater play different characters in the book. So the yes, especially the third book is adaptable to a play or movie or and like I said, the skit with it was fun, quite entertaining, and it went on well. So
So the main character, Gostas, right?
yes,
Is
yes.
how close is Gosta to you?
Not very much. Kostas Karaoglu supposedly is a Greek immigrant from Asia Minor. That's why the last name Karaoglu is from Asia Minor. I'm not. My ancestry comes from the maternal side, comes from Crete. From my parents' side, comes from northwestern Europe. Pretty much the same area where Nicolas Cage is from Epirus.
Right. I can't believe you just said Nicholas. I have it on my note. I was just going to ask you about Nicholas Gage because I did a show last year in Massachusetts and he came. And I was so excited. My parents read Eleni, and he's an icon in the Greek community. And then I find out, like a week later, I teach Sunday school here at the cathedral in Manhattan. And I was talking to one of my friends who runs, actually, she is in charge of Sunday school. And I said, who is that woman over there with the young kids? Because her daughter came into my class. And she said, that's Nicholas Gage, the author's daughter. And I'm like, this can't be happening. He came to the show, but when I came off, I did write a children's book. So like I was selling my children's books, whatever. And I think he and his wife left because they were tired. So I never got to meet him. And I was like, they were just at my show. This is too weird. So I went over to her. Anyway, long story short, he was coming into the city because he comes to visit his daughter all the time. And I met him for coffee last year. And I mean, as a matter of fact, I really should get him on my podcast. And it was fascinating. But his background is very different from yours. I mean, he was a newspaper guy and a reporter, and he's been writing for years. Yeah.
Have you? I've read pretty much all of his books. Have you read A Place for Us?
No, I have not.
Okay, in it, he talks about his father and his grandfather, how his father came to the States and all that. His grandfather and his father, for a few years, they were craftsmen. And at that time, craftsmen from that area, carpenters, woodworkers, stonemasons, and all, they used to travel different parts of the country, wherever there was work. And my great-grandfather was from that group. My great-grandfather was a stonemason, and he came to our area, and he met a woman there, and he married, and that's how he stayed. So, talking about Ellen Gage, she put a blurb on my third.
Right. I know I saw it on your promo, Eleni. So Eleni is also an author, and she's published books, and she's also very bright. I mean, I'm very impressive. You are all very impressive. So it's funny. So 6 degrees of separation. Well, listen, especially in the Greek community, I mean, you and I have never met, but if you meet, if we met, like just say out someplace random, is within 15 minutes, we're going to know some of the same people. That's the way it goes. I mean, that's like how tight knit it is, even though we're from different locations. So, and especially if you're somewhat involved, you know, and have parejas and all that other kind of stuff. At some point, I always say that there should be a game. There's this expression like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon's an actor, and you go 6 degrees. And I always say it should be in the Greek community 6 degrees from my kumbaro, because when you talk to somebody about 3 people down, they'll be like, are you kidding? Dean, he's my kumbaro. Like it always, the conversation always ends up with somebody, you know, somebody's kumbaro. So anyway, but I know I saw Lenny's name too. And I was just, so I'll see her Sunday. I can't wait to tell her that we spoke. But so let me ask you, the title, you know, in their book promotion, it says, is the American dream just a myth? So, and not to get into heavy politics or anything like that, but well, I mean, you can just say whatever you want. I'm just saying, I'm not looking to pigeonhole you, or you know, or you know, try to get that kind of an answer from you. Just from a perspective of somebody that came to this country and worked hard and had to go through a process. I mean, I know you got married, but still, it still wasn't easy, and to just kind of get through everything. And you see people coming from, you know, all different parts of the world. I mean, it's and coming in really horrific ways. Not that there weren't horrors back then, when people came in those steamships and they were all stuck together and stuff. You know,
yes.
Nobody came on like the Queen Mary. You know, so it was bad, and the Ellis Island was no picnic, and you know, so it's been for them, unless you come here as a student, unless you come here with a sponsor, you know, a lot of people, especially when they're escaping their country, come here, and it's tough. So do you think the American dream is a myth, or like, you know, how do you feel when you, and it must touch you when you see people come from other countries here and seeing how they survive?
No, actually, that question, it never crossed my mind. That's something Maria came up with, that it may be catching or something. But no, it's not a myth. It is a reality, and it is, in all seriousness, the American society, the American systems, by virtue of its multi-ethnicity, it is conducive, it is acceptable to all people. It gives opportunities to all people to progress. There are many other countries, so-called advanced and progressed and so forth, that unless you are born in a certain, you're born blue-blooded or not, unless you have the right connections, you are not going to progress, regardless of how good of a work, of a job you do or whatever. So, and no, it's not. It is still a very good place where one, if careful, could advance and could live a gratifying life.
Well, I mean, I agree, and I think, especially in comparison to where they're coming from, which again, I can't imagine. I don't know what these people go through, but just reading and, you know, seeing the repression, and the conditions, and their governments and the dictatorships and how they treat people is disgusting. So I get it. I mean, I get it. I think our dilemma is what happens when they're here, right? Well, we gotta handle it. We can't, everybody just can't be running around in the wild. I mean, we're all accountable, right? I mean, I have a host of identification numbers, as do you, I mean, we got to know, we don't have to know where everybody is all the time, but we have to know who's here. So that's like kind of my thing. But anyway, that's a longer conversation. Just that it caught me when it said the American dream is just a myth. But you know what? You are the American dream. You came from you came to this country and you've made a great life. You've had businesses, you have a family, you're writing books.
that type of conversation is ideal to sit under in the village square under a plane tree, occupying 3 chairs with ouzo and a good koboloi, and then you can solve all kinds of conspiracy problems.
Well, the world problems can be solved over Greek coffee. I agree with you on that. I think there needs to be more of that. I agree with you. So tell us as we wrap up. So what are your plans now? So you're on a book tour, and perhaps we might take this to the stage. Hopefully, maybe, who knows? Someone will maybe want to buy the rights and turn it into a screenplay. I mean, it happens all the time.
The third book is pretty current. It deals not only the protagonist is a Greek immigrant, because that's the kind of know, but there's a lot of other characters. There is Cuban immigrants, Haitian immigrants, and immigrants from all other ethnicities, and they all striving to achieve the same goal. So now my immediate plans. Right now I'm 81 years old. The immediate plan is to make it 82. And I'm working on my memoirs. It's divided into 2 parts. The first part is at some line editor now, relocating the commas and the so forth. And I am on the 8th draft of the second half. I was making great progress. I thought I was halfway through the 8th draft, and then I figured out something else I need to put on. So I'm back on page 60 now. So that's the plan.
A lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I'm sure you have more books in you. Of fiction as well. But I look forward to reading your memoir. Absolutely. And so you have a website, right? It's Theodore Pitsios, right?
Yes.
So Theodore, Theodore, Pitsios, Pitsions. Go to the website. You can see the books. Are these on Amazon as well?
Yes, the Amazon, and they're distributed by Ingram, and anywhere books are sold, you can ask the bookstore and they can get it.
Perfect. And you know what? We need to read more books. We need to get off Netflix and the Real Housewives, and we need to use our imaginations more. So I think it's great that you are adding to that and making us smarter. Hang on, we're gonna wrap up, and then I'm gonna stop recording, but I just want to close it out. I can't thank you enough for doing this, taking the time. You're very busy, and I really hope we get to meet sometime. That would be awesome. And check out Theodore. I love the name Theodore, by the way. Pitsios's book, Walking in the Light. That's the new book. The other books are Searching for Ithaca. My best friend is from Ithaki. I'm going to get her this book, by the way, for Christmas. And Walking in the Light. So let's support the authors. Thank you so much. My name is Ellen Karis, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Greek Chick Comic. My website is ellenkaris.com. Also, on the website is this podcast and the ones that I've done for the last 7 years. I'm sorry, I did not ask you, Ted, do you have any social media on here, or is it just go to the website?
Website. Oh, I'm on Facebook.
Facebook.
Also.
Okay. Facebook. Okay. And so you can look up Ted on Facebook. I'm going to go like his page. I am also on Facebook, Ellen Karis, Greek Goddess Comedy. Thank you so much, everybody. Until next time. Bye.
Bye. My pleasure.